How to focus on the right things in the right order. Hi, Patrick from Founder Revenue Academy. This episode is part of our process series and is episode number 2. So let's get started. There are 3 key parts of this video that I wanted to break down: focus, right things, and right order. So I wanted to look at each in turn. So to maintain and sustain focus, you need to have the environment which is conducive to focus. So no distractions, and that includes incessant notifications coming through so you can work, maybe just muting Slack notifications if you use it, WhatsApp, graying out your screen is quite a cool function that certainly iPhones have as well. And some other such things could be making sure that emails, notifications are just turned off for an hour, or things like that, sort of creating the environment that can really help you. I've used the tactic of time blocking and having time blocked in my calendar for the taxonomy I use is deep work. I think that really helps me. It also gives other people in your organization the ability not to book stuff over that time. They can see that you're busy and all that kind of stuff. So that can be really helpful. Then also having a reward after the time block and keeping it that way, so to ensure that you actually get that task done because you know something's going to be at the end. This actually reminds me of Parkinson's law and the horseman's corollary. So Parkinson's law from the 50s, I believe, the adage was that work expands so as to fill the time available for its completion. And the horseman's corollary is that work contracts to fit in the time we give it. So it's a slightly different way of looking at these two kind of things, but I subscribe to horseman's idea of time management because it promotes greater efficiency in my view. So for example, if you're working on a presentation and you had an hour to do it, you probably make it take an hour or be able to extend it out. Whereas if you're working on a presentation and you say, well, I need to get this done in the next 20 minutes, you would focus your time in to ensure that you had it done in the next 20 minutes. This idea of contract your work to fit in the time that we give it. We've given ourselves 20 minutes to do a presentation. We've got to get it done in 20 minutes, not an hour. So it's just quite a nice way of thinking like that. So the second bit is the right things. So what are the right things? Where do I focus my attention, and how can I be sure that what I'm focusing on are the things that I should be focusing on? So let's take an example. If the mission and the vision of your company have been defined, the execution and enduring success of the company strategy needs to be built upon a philosophy of continuous improvement. The way that we do this is by breaking down this strategy into objectives and its success metrics or measurements. So instead of just coming up with an objective like make more sales because the vision of the company is to get to a certain valuation in the next 5 years or something like that, making more sales is almost an obvious statement. So what you would do is you would look at the objectives and how they are worded, and instead of being make more sales, the objectives should be worded like increase sales by 25% by December 31st. So they're very clear, they're concise, and they're measurable. So typically a strategic objective like that will start with words like improve, increase, strengthen, decrease, reduce, and enhance. So maybe take this away and kind of think around this idea, because these are all verbs that clearly describe an ongoing activity. And believe me, if you're at a stage where you are wanting to grow your business and are starting to create the objectives you feel are going to get you there, having objectives written in that way is going to significantly help you. So finally, we've talked about focus, we've talked about right things, how to do them in the right order. So to help you with that, what I would recommend is to use the VOMA framework, which stands for vision, objectives, measures, and activities. So what you would do is you'd start with the vision, and this is where you want to take the company, right? So next is to break down this vision or the overarching goal, trying to answer the how are we going to get there? So the vision is this is what we want to do, and then the objectives are this is how we're going to do this. Then the measures need to come into place, and this is critical because we need to be able to answer the question, how do we know for certain that we have achieved this objective beyond any reasonable doubt? So the sense of achievement when you tick off objectives in this manner is massive because there can be no grey area. You've either hit it or you haven't. So it's fun. So you've got these objectives, and you've often written them in terms of enhance, strengthen, reduce, things like that. Finally, it's breaking down the objectives into daily activities. So to use the example of increase sales by 25% by December 31st, the activities could be have 5 conversations with your target market a day, or to send out 10 emails a day. And these are the things that you do on a daily basis. So because the activities need to be related to the strategic objectives and the measures that are in there that determine success, this is how I would define doing things in the right order. You've got from a Monday to Friday, you know what your activities are. Those are inextricably linked to the objectives, and that objective is going to ensure that the end goal is going to be met. I'd use another example, which is that you can't directly manage revenue. In the same way as if you've got X amount in your bank account, you can't just look at that and it's going to go up. You've got to do something about it. So that's why having objectives in place, you definitely can manage objectives and you definitely can manage activities. You hit the activities, you hit the objectives, you hit the ultimate goal, which for most people is going to be some sort of revenue-based goal. So that wraps up today's video. Remember, we create these videos a lot to help our founders and run these mini-series and all the key pillars of scaling B2B tech startups. So if you haven't seen the other videos in this process series or the other series at all, please check them out. And also don't forget to join our community where the link is below, where you'll see all this content and get to interact with many like-minded founders too. So I'll see you in there.